Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. Abu Dhabi to crack down on undisciplined bond sales. Emirates looking at tapping into the bond market. And Japan falls into recession. Let's look at the stock markets first. Both the DFM and the ADX ended the trading week in the red. The DFM fell 0.4% to close at 1,583 points. Stocks to lose were Taka Full House, which lost 2.5%. Global Investment House dropped 9.5%. Emaar Properties fell 0.9%. Dubai Islamic Bank lost 1.4% and Commercial Bank of Dubai 1.6%. DP World, however, gained by 1.5% and Aramex was up 1.1%. 179 million shares were traded, valued at 152 million dirhams. And over in the capital, the ADX lost slightly by 0.2% to close at 2,654 points, with the energy sector falling the most. Dana Gas dropped 1.5% and Taka lost 0.8%. Abu Dhabi National Hotels lost 4.1% and Sur Real Estate Company fell 1.5%. Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank also lost by 0.7%. However, Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank was up 0.3%. As was Sharjah Islamic Bank, which added 1.1%. 58 million shares were traded, valued at 110 million dirhams. And let's now take a look at the GCC markets, which ended mixed today. To talk a bit more about recent events, we're now joined by financial analyst Bruce Powers. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Good evening.
I want to start with Japan. Now, the economy fell into recession. The GDP contracted by 3.7% between January and March. And economists say it could get even worse in the second quarter, which we are now currently in. What do you think lies ahead for the Japanese economy?
Well, the rate of decline was much steeper than was expected, almost twice as much as previous estimates to today. Anyway, one economist survey indicated they expected a 1.9% drop in GDP. Now, this doesn't look good for the the second quarter. So it's also indicating that the second quarter will be bad and that estimates will need to be lowered. Now, once we have reconstruction spending kick in and we have less disruption from infrastructure problems, we should see the economy grow again. This probably won't be until the third quarter, maybe not to the fourth quarter.
Now let's talk about Dominic Strauss-Kahn, who resigned today as the head of the IMF. Now the IMF is an institution very much involved in the European debt crisis. This power vacuum we have now, how much will that affect the debate, the negotiations with Greece concerning its debt restructuring, do you think?
Well, the IMF provides about 1/3 of the budget for the Eurozone bailouts. I don't know what the impact will be, but I think it will depend a lot on who the new head is and whether they have a different philosophy as to how to handle the debt problem. So far, the IMF's basic approach under Strauss-Kahn has been to provide liquidity rather than to restructure debt. This requires the bailed out countries to implement strict fiscal reforms. Now, if the economy is struggling or not growing at all, then it makes it more difficult to maintain the political will necessary to fully implement those reforms. So governments are at risk of losing their tax base, and the population continues to get antsy and lose patience. So this is what we see happening in Greece. Right now, the estimate is that the tax revenues will drop by $10 billion this year, and unemployment is at 15%. So the Greece economy is looking pretty bad, and so far the bailout has not worked. And I think a restructuring is likely. What it will be will really depend, I think, on the new person coming in and whether they change the basic approach.
Probably that person will be very strict with the Greek government.
Well,
Thanks.
They may not be able to be.
Well, maybe. Thanks for coming in today. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
And now to our top stories. Abu Dhabi plans to curtail bond sales by state companies and review the investments they hold to ease the sale of sovereign bonds and ensure the firm's actions benefit the economy. Top officials are keen to improve accountability and discipline in state-owned firms. The plan to centralize fundraising and crack down on unnecessary issuances has been in place for at least 6 months and may take another year to complete, several people familiar with the situation told Reuters. That means the Department of Finance will step up exercising its authority. From now on, Abu Dhabi's Debt Management Office, part of the Finance Department, will direct bond issuances from the capital. Dubai's flagship carrier Emirates has picked 4 banks to arrange meetings for a potential dollar-denominated bond issue, the Arab world's largest airline said, according to press reports. If market conditions, including pricing, are favorable, Emirates plans to tap the bond market, the company told Reuters. Investor roadshows will be held in Asia, the Middle East and Europe, and HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Emirates, MBD and Morgan Stanley have been appointed joint lead managers and bookrunners. Emirates, which is not a stock-listed company, has been assessing various fundraising options for a while. In February, it said it is looking at a potential bond issue. The UAE Central Bank is set to issue new mortgage rules in a bid to boost lending and regulate banks' mortgage lending practices. The rules will be a part of the new personal lending law that was enforced earlier this month. At a meeting on Wednesday, the central bank discussed the new regulations with banks and stated that the new lending law covering mortgages will be issued soon. Data from the central bank show that mortgage lending rose 15% last year, however, not as much as before the downturn in 2008 when lending increased 120% year-on-year. And in our fast financial news, Glencore International, the Swiss commodities trader that sold $10 billion of stock today, gained as much as 3.8% on its debut on the London stock market. The shares, which were sold at 530 pence a piece, rose as high as 550 pence. One of Glencore's blue-chip cornerstone investors is Arbor Investments, an Abu Dhabi-based sovereign wealth fund. Shell Marine Products launched its marine fuel bunker operations at Jebel Ali port today. It is the largest container port in the Middle East, and Shell is currently the only integrated energy company that has set up operations at the port. The setup aims to support liners operating in the region. And after the break, we will run you through what's making the headlines in international business today.